Good evening and a very, very warm welcome to you. Thank you very much for joining us here on DinamoTV. It's episode 8. It's our first season, by the way. And a big cheerio to all of our Instagram viewers who are tuning into Instagram. It's the first time we've had you on Instagram since, I think, round 1, or episode 1, I should say. My name's Tonshi Prusak. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you tonight, again on a Thursday night. And ahead of what is going to be a scorcher of a long weekend. We've got all the news, all the views. We've got some interesting and very exciting announcements as well to be made on tonight's show. And it is going to be yet another bumper episode of DinamoTV. And so stay with us for the next 50 minutes or so, maybe an hour. We'll see how we go, because we've got one guest who certainly is very entertaining. And when he speaks, we all listen. And of course, I'm speaking about our very, very own Dinamo club legend, after whom the Senior Men's Best and Fairest Award is named after. And he's also the coach of FC Strathmore Split. And I talk about none other than MICKY COLINA, who will be joining us a little bit later on in the show. Strathmore are playing Bell Park State League 4 outfit in the Australia Cup tomorrow night at Churchill Reserve. So if you're doing nothing tomorrow night, hop down to Churchill Reserve. The bar and the kitchen will be open, and indeed there'll be some top-class football action coming your way. We'll also be speaking to last week's player of the week. Who could it be? Who possibly could it be? It was an otherwise disappointing performance, but nonetheless, there were some shining moments, and we will be speaking to one of those shining moments, if you like, and that's going to be our guest later on tonight. So we look forward to having him on board. We've got lots of news to get through as well. Stay tight, folks, because straight after this short ad break, we will be delving straight into the news desk and this week's news.
The I&D Group is regarded as one of the largest deliverers of concrete structure solutions in Victoria. Formed in 1994 by Ivan and Kathy Filipovic, their passion and commitment to getting the job done safely and economically has underpinned their success in the industry. I&D partners with large-scale building and construction companies in both the private and public sectors on projects large and small. With our corporate headquarters based in South Melbourne and storage yard based in the southeast suburbs, we have at our disposal thousands of square metres of quality materials, along with state-of-the-art lifting and crane equipment, enabling us to deliver the largest projects. We are committed to delivering high-quality projects by partnering with our clients and collaborating with project suppliers to ensure each job is delivered to exceed expectations. From humble beginnings, I&D now employs more than 1,200 dedicated professional and support staff, involved in a number of landmark projects right across Victoria. The I&D Group is a massive supporter of the Croatian community, backed soccer clubs in Victoria, and is proud to be the major sponsor of the St Albans Dinamo Football Club in 2024.
Welcome back to DinamoTV. Big shout out to everyone tuning in through any one of our social media platforms. We've got Facebook, we've got YouTube, we've got Twitter, or X as it is called now. We've got Instagram, we've got LinkedIn, and we're also simulcast through Football Out West Facebook page, the Auscrow Soccer Show Facebook and YouTube channels as well. So we are going around several different platforms. No matter where you're tuning in from, a big cheerio to you all. Let's start with, it was the Croatian derby. Whenever it's the Croatian derby, it's always a little bit of a festive celebration, I guess, off the field. On the field, it's a different story. Well, let's catch all the highlights of last weekend's big Croatian derby at Knight Stadium between the Melbourne Knights and our very own Dinamo. And your commentators for this game were Josh Parrish and Craig Filer.
Two changes, Alan Jerez and NESLON TSHONGO come into the 11 after they went down 3-1 against Dandy City last week. Jasko Koranovic, Michael Gergic, Chris Dibb, James Ricobene, Joey Monick, Matt King, Ryan Summerskill, Scott McCaw and Josh Diven all retain their places. On the bench for the Melbourne Knights today, alongside Anthony Drizel, is John Lebock, Jacob Wiseman, Thomas Werndl, Juan Garcia Polito and Felipe Sanchez. To begin kicks, going to be a left-footed delivery from Steve White, the competition's premier technicians in midfield. Rehearsed short routine in for Corey Sewell, straight off the training ground, and the Knights hit the front early in the derby. Another great delivery from the set piece, and Franic is denied. Jasko Koranovic getting down well, but another free header in the box. St Albans walking a fine line at the moment as Semi knocks it back to Mitch Hoare. Back to Tommy Semi! Oh. Rifled into the roof of the net.
Right on cue, Tommy Semi.
Tommy Semi. Sovereign. Ball holds up in the wind again. Sanchez, neat spin. Mabok is running through on goal if he can find him. Lovely reverse pass, John Mabok! He's off the mark for the Knights. A fantastic moment for the young man.
Fantastic little ball in and a super little finish from John McCock. That will do the confidence a world of good.
They're off the bench as well.
Yeah.
The referee's called full time. And they're all mobbing John Mabok, who with the last kick of the game has scored his first senior goal.
Big game against our sister club Melbourne Knights today. Obviously disappointing result, but your thoughts on today's game?
Yeah, disappointing result again, but it comes down to taking your chances. We've had a number of chances and we could quite easily have scored a couple of goals there, and goals change games. If we take our chances, the outcome could have been different, but we've got to be more clinical in front of goal. In terms of possession and playing football, I thought like we looked okay, but we've got to take our chances. This game, it comes down to how many taking your chances and winning games and 3 points, and we just never took our chances.
Yeah, obviously disappointing, but you know, we've got, I suppose, Zelfi. I see Zelfi coming back in the 23s today. We've got to stay positive, obviously, but you know, some positives for next week. A big game against Moreland City. They're all big games, but you know, this is probably a big one.
Yeah, definitely. Like there's no easy games in the NPL Victoria. There's no easy games at all. But yeah, next week's a cup final for us. Hopefully we can pick the boys up during the week, and try and get them fully focused on Moreland City this week. There's nothing else to do. We've just got to pick them up, try and pick them up as best you can, and focus on how do we get the 3 points against Moreland.
Yeah, we've got some quality there. Our squad is a quality squad. So yeah, we just got to try and get it back up.
Definitely. Like that's what's disappointing. The boys are playing reasonably well in spells, and they've got quality in the team. So that's what's disappointing, because I know they're capable of so much more. And I think once we get a couple of wins under our belt, you'll see we're quite a young squad, but you'll see confidence grow in players. But it just needs to come quick. It just needs to happen quick.
Yeah. Thank you. Good luck for next week. Let's go Dinamo.
Thank you very much, John.
Cheerio to John Bilosh, our Vice President, in the absence of Ian Burke, our roving reporter, and Anthony Conyeth, who's also part of the media team. Both gentlemen were away last weekend. John stepped in and did a fantastic job as our post-match reporter, so well done to John. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for our senior team, but there is hope, folks. There is hope. 1 draw and 3 losses from our first 3 games. Sees us sitting second last there on the competition standings. We have a look at some of the results. Heidelberg defeated Green Gully 3-0. Dandenong City held Oakley Cannons to a 1-1 draw. Avondale, they keep grinding out the results, but just beat Moreland City 1-0. South Melbourne destroyed Manningham United Blues 5-2 after being down 2-0 at one stage. Dandenong Thunder defeated Altona Magic 3-2. Hume City had a big 4-0 win over Port Melbourne Sharks. And, of course, we saw the result of our game against the Melbourne Knights. All of the attention turns to this Sunday. And, folks, here's the first of our big announcements, 2 big announcements tonight. The game has been switched to an 8:15 p.m. kickoff. Now, remember, it's Labor Day holiday this weekend, so Monday is off. Look, what better weather than to go down to Churchill Reserve at 8:15 p.m. after the day's been, 38 degrees during the day to come and watch football. This is going to be absolutely spectacular. The bar will be open. The kitchen will be open. And to say that this is a must-win game is an understatement, but the boys can do it. The boys can do it. I've got inside word that they've been tearing the training track all week. They are really, really motivated. And mark my words, folks, once it clicks into place, once it clicks into action, the Dinamo boys are going to be unstoppable, starting from this Sunday's big game against Moreland City. So, as you said, must-win game, but, I'm very, very confident that the lads can do it. Under 23s, they lost on the weekend as well, and they find themselves in a mid-table position, 1 win, 1 draw, 2 losses. They come up against Moreland City, who this year have only managed a draw and 3 losses. So a very winnable game, and that will a win for the 23s will really thrust them up back into the top third of the competition. And that's exactly what we want. I think we want to see the boys doing well week in, week out. And there's some very, very good talent. And let me tell you, there's some very exciting young talent as well in that under 23s team. So speaking of juniors as well, the juniors last week came up against Altona Magic. And they were the results. The under 14s, 3-1 loss to Magic. Luka Morvic scoring the only goal for the boys in blue. The under 15s lost 3-0. The under 16s lost 1-0, or should that be a win? 1-0. And the under 18s won 2-0 thanks to a goal from Nicholas Masiti and Joshua Angelis. Now, on Sunday, they come up against Green Gully, but those times are incorrect because late breaking news, we found out that the games will be played at 9:30 and at 11:30. So likelihood that the under 14s will kick off at 9:30, the under 16s the under 15s at 11:10, the under 16s at 9:30, and the under 18s at 11:30. That is to be confirmed, because at the moment, Dinamo officials are in talks with both the Green Gully officials as well as Football Victoria Competitions Department. We expect sometime tomorrow to get a confirmation, but I've been told that's what's likely going to happen. Okay, so a 9:30 and an 11:30, or 9:30 and 11:10 kickoff expected this weekend or this Sunday. Now, before Sunday, our sister club, North Geelong Warriors, are having their annual traditional festa. It's on Saturday this year, and it promises to be a massive day. Even though it's going to be very hot, there's going to be lots and lots of refreshments there. Come and enjoy Croatian folklore performances. Lado and Zora are going to be performing. There'll be carnival rides. There'll be a petting zoo, face painting, jumping castle, boutique food stalls, plus the big attraction will be Sydney band Prva Liga on the main stage in the evening. Once again, folks, it's going to be hot during the day, but it's going to be absolutely perfect conditions at night. So when the sun goes down, the party action starts to happen. So that is going to be something to, if you're not doing anything this Saturday night, make the short trip down the highway to Lara, and North Geelong Warriors will entertain you. Speaking of festivals, the Croatian Cultural Festival is on again this year. Sunday week, it's on the 17th of March at the Dom, the Croatian club in Whitehall Street, Footscray, a long-running supporter of our club and the community, the Croatian community in general. We will have 2 stalls there, so do come down. We're going to have a big drive, a volunteer drive, if you like, we're going to get as many people signed up to help volunteer later in the year when we do host the annual Australian-Croatian soccer tournament. So lots of action happening both on and off the field, both this weekend coming and over the next week or so. So don't be afraid to get involved. Don't be afraid to and starting with this Friday night as well. And we'll find out a little bit more about what's happening this Friday night straight after this news break, because it is going to be the time for our first guest. He's a legend, a club legend indeed, and he's also the Strathmore Split coach. He is indeed Mickey Colina. He'll be joining us after this short break. Welcome back to DinamoTV. It is episode 8. It's time now to talk to someone who is going to be, well, his side will be in action tomorrow night at Churchill Reserve, but he's also an absolute club legend, and it's an absolute pleasure to welcome to DinamoTV Mickey Colina, coach of Strathmore Split. Mickey, good evening and welcome to DinamoTV. How are you?
Yeah, great. Good evening, Tonchi, and I'm humbled to be part of the show. Thank you very much.
Mate, let's talk about Friday night. So it's going to be a big one. All roads lead to Churchill Reserve for Strathmore Split fans, and indeed anyone who wants to come out and support the sister club, taking on Bell Park, State League 3 outfit from Geelong. Kickoff there is 8:15 p.m. We believe it's free entry, and the bar and kitchen will be open. So hopefully it will be a party atmosphere. State League 3 opposition. Do you know much about Bell Park?
Look, I'll be honest with you, Tonchi. I mean, obviously, I know they exist, and then I've heard, they're playing in the various state league competitions over the years, and probably knew more about them when I was at North for those almost 4 years, and so naturally you sort of hear about some of the local teams in the area. But to be honest, I don't know much about them as a side. And look, at the end of the day, we just got to make sure that we're prepared the best way possible to ensure that we can get through this round and have a positive performance that we can sort of take into the season start.
Yeah, I know they've got a few former North Geelong boys playing there these days, so there's quite a strong Croatian contingent there at Bell Park. But look, nonetheless, it's always difficult coming up against the underdog, I guess. And let's talk about your season's preparation. Obviously, going into Friday night's game as the favourites. But how's the team looking up? How's the team shaping up? With 2 weeks to go before the season starts proper, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think 23rd of March, that weekend, 24th of March is round 1. I mean, obviously, it's been a journey pre-season like it is for all clubs. You sort of go through the processes, obviously the preparation, both physically and mentally, and then naturally personnel-wise. We've added a few players to the group, and I think, they've been definitely a positive. There's no doubt about that, and the strength of the squad, both as characters and footballers. Yeah. I've always had that mindset that, the characters are important. I can't change the DNA of an individual. So you hope that you get right people in the room that can fall into the culture we've already created and add value to that without being detrimental to it. The footballer, yeah, you can mould that to a certain degree. You can change that. But characters, for me, have always been paramount to the room and what we're trying to build. So far it's been positive. I think, you know, we're obviously still looking to strengthen a bit more. Obviously, in the state leagues, we have that little bit of a luxury where there's no window like the NPL.
Yeah.
Has to abide by. So, you know, the reality is you can keep building, God knows, until around 15, you can be adding players. But look, I don't want to be doing that. Ideally, we'd want to be in a position where we've got a solid squad.
Yeah.
You know, we have been a little bit unfortunate with some injuries, you know, in the pre-season process. And one probably that does stand out for all of us, which is very disappointing, is young Tassos Mordalis, who's been flying in pre-season.
Oh, really? Yep.
Last week of training, you know, on his own without anybody around. Unfortunately, he's turned a certain way, and MRI results on Thursday reflected probably what we all were dreading, and he's done his ACL and he'll be out for the season, which is really unfortunate for the boy. Because, like I said, he was really doing very, very well and looking forward to having a really good season, we hoped. But he's still part of the crew. That just sort of highlights the culture that we've created. Yeah. He's part of, you know, the room, and we will want to involve him everywhere we can to ensure that he knows that we're there with him and that he's part of everything we do. And you know, as a young lad, he's only 20 years old, mate, he'll be there on the park before he knows it. You know, and I know right now it's easier said than done, and he'd be sort of thinking all sorts of things, but you got to stay strong. You know, got to be resilient, both mentally, probably more so than anything. And I do believe he'll be back on the park before he knows it.
What about some of the other players? Who are some of the players we can expect to hear some big things of from Strathmore Reserve and maybe even possibly on Friday night?
Look, I think if you sort of start going through the list, I mean, I know the Dinamo family will know our goalkeeper, Gavin Mate, who we've brought into the fold, and he's been great for us. So expecting a lot of good things from him. Not so much. You got the goalkeeping facet, of course, but as a leader, you know, we've got a pretty young squad. So he comes into the group with experience and the leadership qualities that we expect him to put forward. So himself, the other new boys, Adrian Mancini, who's come across from Altona City, a promoted club. He's going to be a great asset to the back line, solidify that side of things definitely. So expecting him to, again, another leader. And, you know, at the end of the day, he's a young footballer too. But, you know, he definitely has experience behind him at senior level. We go through the lines. Another person, Matthew Italiano, who's been around traps a little bit. And we, again, welcome him to the fold. He'll definitely be one that we will be counting on in terms of leadership role in the middle of the park. He's had a really good pre-season so far. He's showed a lot of good form, and we're happy how he's been moving through. Then, you know, obviously the people that we already had on board, you know, Callum Nicholas from the UK, we're expecting a big season from him. I know by his standards, he knows probably will reflect on last season as one that probably wasn't probably something that he believes is his maximum. So we're expecting him to really have a good season. Pre-season's been great, so that's anything to go by. Another lad, Shima Bruzoya, who's at Snowbirds. I expect him to also step up and deliver a solid season. And some of the other younger boys that have come across and you know, added to the squad. We've got a Japanese lad, Yuta Takamoshi, who, again, another boy that's pretty exciting, and we see some good things and the potential that he can bring to the park. And I think, you know, it is numerous players that we can mention and, you know, existing staff.
Yep.
But again, you know, it is generally a young squad with a lot of potential. And we've shown some of the good things. And we've also shown in the preseason some of the things that we believe we don't want to be doing too often, you know?
Yeah.
And, having a younger squad, you're sort of going to get that. But I'm weary that I don't miss any names. So really, it's a collective. There's a lot of names there that I haven't even mentioned that we are relying on and expect to be a big part of what we do this season.
Well, it might be the State League One competition, but there are always teams just clamouring to get out of there and into the, well, as it's called now, the VPL 2 competition last year, the NPL 3. But the season kicks off on Saturday, the 23rd of March at the Club Italia Sporting Club, away game to Brimbank Stallions, always a tough team. There's Sydenham Park there. There's Clifton Hill. There's obviously Geelong, who are now under the tutelage of former Sydney United legend Ante Mordic, and have recruited heavily with Caleb Mikulic, former NPL 2 Golden Boot. They're also now in that division after being demoted from NPL 3. Westgate, another tough team. So it is a really, really tough division. But I guess all the attention now turns to this Friday night. As we said, we'll repeat that this Friday, tomorrow night, in fact, 8:15 p.m. kickoff there at Churchill Reserve. Get along a little bit earlier, have a feed in the kitchen, and get something to drink from the bar. It is free entry, so it promises to be an awesome night under lights. And we're hoping that Strathmore can go into the fourth round and join some of those VPL and NPL sides. But Mickey, let's not only are you the coach of Strathmore, but you've been the coach of all the four big Croatian clubs in Victoria, I guess. Dandenong City, Melbourne Knights, obviously Dinamo, you're a club legend at Dinamo, and North Geelong, as you mentioned, and now you're at Strathmore Split. So you have that, I guess, the legendary, label of being a coach of all of those. What were some of your most memorable moments or highlights at some of those other clubs that you've coached?
Well, I think if we sort of go through the list chronically to a certain degree, I started in 2011 in a serious nature, if you want to call it that. Coaching perspective at Melbourne Knights doing the under-21s. And it was Juzza was the head coach of the seniors there at the time. And that was obviously your first foray into it. Naturally, you're learning and you're still learning. And I really enjoyed the time there, especially at the end of the season, taking the senior squad to Sydney to the tournament. Because...
And that was your first senior gig, was it, at the tournament?
Well, the tournament was the first senior opportunity, I suppose, with Melbourne Knights. And, going in the tournament in the final against Sydney United was obviously, something that you always remember. It's, the tournaments are a big part of our community and everything. It's been a big part of history, myself, football-wise. So that was special. That was something that definitely stays in the memory banks. And then obviously from there, moved to St Albans, had an opportunity to coach St Albans when they were, at the time, it was a State 1 competition. And obviously it was a whole new, how should I say, most of the players, had left, and there was a restructure in terms of...
Like a rebuild, yeah?
Yeah, a rebuild. They were a side that had a lot of young lads, and, obviously the budgets were naturally very challenging. And look, we were in the competition just to survive, and we achieved that, which was good. Following year, I moved from St Albans to Richmond in 2014. And that's where the North Geelong connection come into play when I was approached to go across to North Geelong. In 2014, I think it was like round 10, and that was the start of a long stint, if you want to call it that, at the one club there, North Geelong. And a lot of fond memories, created some new friendships, solidified some existing ones. And I think when I reflect back from a footballing point of view, is definitely a time that stands out in my memory, and one that I hold to heart for all my days. And obviously year one, coming in there and being in a position where the goal was just to solidify ourselves in the competition. Then we went obviously on this crazy run, and it was ironic that we clinched promotion against Normans at home in 2014 with a few rounds to go, and all of a sudden we found ourselves up in the NPL at the time. because the structure was a little bit different.
That's right.
But we're brave. We obviously that year we won the tournament in Wollongong, 2014, first time for North Geelong, which is a fantastic achievement, and one definitely proud to be part of. And throughout that journey, as everyone knows, I mean, we went down, we went up, we went down. But I think 2016 was a big moment, definitely that stands out in my memory to sort of go through those two playoff games against, obviously big clubs compared to us, from a budget point of view and everything else, to sort of beat Dandy Thunder 4-1 at Port Melbourne's ground that night, and then to go on and, beat Richmond, who were that third last NPL side that was trying to sort of avoid relegation. And, at Oakley's round we won 4-0, which was, two crazy games. And I think what stands out in my memory, other than the football side, was just the general passion of the fans, and a busload of people rocking up to Oakley's ground. And I just remember the lads warming up and hearing the chanting going on as they'll come off the bus. It definitely, I know it's so small, but it had this small little reminder of something that you'd experience in Europe. Or not. And so that was definitely something that you'll definitely never forget, that's for sure. And then obviously across the Knights in 2019, I think with the Knights, we had an opportunity there, a squad that was, again, in average age 22. We went in and found ourselves in the top echelon of the competition, against some big clubs. The first 5 games were, won 4 out of the first 5 against, people like, teams like Bentley Greens, Oakley away, kind of Magic again at home, and Dandy City away. So that was, again, a stint that we didn't obviously finish the season off, unfortunately, but that's how football goes. But definitely one I look back on with pride. And if I reflect back on it, I probably wouldn't do anything different if I had my chance again. You know what I mean? So then obviously Dandy City in the COVID period. And again,
tough time, wasn't it? Tough time.
It was a tough time. And, they were keen for me to stay on it, which I agreed. And I suppose COVID dropped and the realities of travelling to Dandy kicked in.
Yeah.
And again, look, I was proud of the time that we had there. It was some great people there that I knew beforehand, and again, new friendships that you created. At the end of the day, you part ways in a way that I think I just had to be honest, because I really just struggled with the actual travel.
Yeah.
But having said that, Strathmore was on the wings, and they knew what was sort of cooking type of thing in terms of my sort of challenges with travelling to Dandy. And when I sort of finished my last game there, they were quick to sort of give us a call and say if I'd be interested in coming across, because I was sort of doing it a little bit tough at the bottom of the table. And went in there for the half a season, and we managed to survive, which is great, turn things around. And I'm still there today. And I'll be honest with you, I really enjoyed it. At the moment, it sits in with my commitments, and it's a great club that's got, I don't have to explain their passion and their role in the community. I think everybody knows, which is fantastic. But, obviously we're trying to do a bit of a project, if you want to call it that, to challenge ourselves as much as we can and to try to be the best we can be every week, I suppose. With the challenges that you have as a club, obviously financially, there's always limitations. But I think, we're on the right track and everyone's realistic about the goals, which is important, So
absolutely.
Probably enjoyed my time so far. It's been great,
Well, mate, I tell you what, the young team, they may be a young team there at Strathmore Split, but they are very, very lucky to have such an experienced coach guiding them along the way. And before I guess one day we'll have to bring you back onto DinamoTV and talk about the golden days of when you were a player at Churchill Reserve and those early coaching days. But one memory I have, and we go back a long way, Mickey, I fondly remember an interview we had with you while you were Dandenong coach. And I think this was on the Football Out West show, I believe. And you were coming back from training and you had to pull over onto the Monash or the Southeastern Arterial. Yeah. And we're just hoping to God that that no one would crash into you during the interview. But we always appreciate it. You always go above and beyond, and we thank you for that. And we thank you for coming on DinamoTV tonight. And I wish you all the best for this for tomorrow night. And yeah, it'd be great to see Strathmore Split move on to the next round.
Thanks, Torchy. Really appreciate it, and humbled to be part of the show. And again, wish all the Dinamo crew all the best this coming weekend in their obviously hit out, and look forward to seeing you around the traps and next time on the show. So thanks again, and thanks to everyone involved.
Good on you, mate. Thank you very much for joining us on Dinamo.
Westar Prestige is a family-owned second-generation business which is celebrating 50 years of operations this year. They're a specialist prestige collision repair facility situated in the western suburbs of Melbourne, Victoria. However, they service all regions in the state, with many of their clients travelling from far and wide to use their services. They're also able to provide a digital platform for quoting clients' vehicles who are unable to personally attend their premises. They're an authorised manufacturer-approved repair facilities for Mercedes-Benz, Tesla, Peugeot and Suzuki, and are proud of their ongoing affiliation with these brands. They also work closely with a number of Australia's largest insurance brands who entrust them to be part of their preferred repairer network. Their support staff are always happy to assist clients from the initial process of lodging claims through to the final stages of collection of the vehicle on completion of repairs and post-repair. So remember, for all your prestige collision repair needs, consider Westar Prestige, an award-winning, long-standing Australian-owned business.
Go. Okay, here we've got Pavel Bilic from our under-16 St Albans Dinamo NPL, number 25 for this season. So tell me, Pavel, how long have you been at Dinamo St Albans?
Since under-9s, now I'm under-16s. I think that's about 7 years.
Oh, very good, mate. Very good.
7 years at the club.
Yeah, what position do you play usually on the weekends?
Probably defensive midfield. Depends on the coach.
You always play defensive midfield, or you sort of swapped around a little bit throughout?
Well, I started with centre back. Now I'm like defensive midfield, number 8. All of those.
No worries. As we're talking here, all your teammates are looking on. Out of the whole team there, who do you reckon? Who's the biggest character or the biggest practical joker you reckon in the group?
I reckon Cruz and Eric. Not gonna lie.
And I saw earlier on you had some punishment. There was a little game that was going on there.
I missed them. I was going for the head, but I missed it. Just over.
No worries. Good luck for the season, Paul. All the best, mate. All right, here we've got Lucas Hanania, number 33 in our under-16s Dinamo NPL team. Lucas, how long have you been at Dinamo for, mate?
Since Mali Plavi.
Mali Plavi, so pretty much since you could almost walk, and now into the under-16. So you're a stalwart. You've been at the club for a long time. Whereabouts do you play on the field usually on the weekend, mate?
I usually left back.
Left back?
Push up sometimes, but yeah.
No worries. We can hear a bit of chuckling in the background. I'll just spin around here and we'll...
They're all fans.
Have a look at this. And as soon as you turn the camera on, they all run away. But depends on when he started. But out of the group you're looking at now, they were hanging it on you a little bit earlier. Which one would you give a nice big gentlemanly slap to if you could right now?
Oh, Max. Max Wojtek.
Max Wojtek. There you go, Mr. Max Wojtek from a famous Wojtek family. And I think some of the jewellery I'm wearing your great-grandfather might have made for me, so that's pretty good. But there you go, we've got the under-16s there, the NPLs. How did you go, or who you got this weekend, boys? Green Gully away. How do you reckon we'll go? 3-2 win. I reckon a left back and maybe a defensive midfielder might score one each. Who's going to score the third? They're going to be, oh, mate, Mishka, I saw you training earlier, mate, that miss that I got on tape. We'll see how we go.
4 more.
I'll tell you, that's a boot bag you're saying, Mr. Village there? Straight from Zagreb. When did you grab that one?
Last year.
All right, when you going back? Coach is watching, don't tell him you're going June, July for the Euros.
You'll be watching Dinamo TV.
Sponsor that we're chatting to, Matt Shark from Evolution Electrical. Matt, first of all, thank you for sponsoring St Albans Dinamo on behalf of the entire Dinamo community. But tell us a bit about your business and what does it do and how did it start?
Thanks, Conchi, and thanks to the Dinamo family for, I suppose, throwing on a successful sponsors luncheon. Evolution Electrical, I suppose, started in 2011. I spent over a decade working for a contractor and decided that, you know what, I've got something more to give. And Pat, my wife and myself decided we'll give business and contracting a go. We started at humble beginnings, just being an apprentice back in 2011. And as of last week, we are at 51 staff members across 3 facilities in Melbourne, and pretty proud of what we've achieved for coming from, I suppose, a small and humble background.
Matt, tell us, is it easier to be on the tools or is it harder when you're controlling a workforce of, as you said, 51 and managing the human resource side of things?
6 of one, half a dozen of the other. On a given day, if my phone's not calling and there's no answers, then I'm happy to go out on the tools and teach the next generation. But in the same token, the business needs to be driven. Dane Duganjic is my business manager and Anthea Wilson is my office manager. 2 well-driven individuals that I suppose sit along Pat and I, and they want to see us, I suppose, progress. And we've moved now into the NDIS space, which is a big space in domestic construction. So that's, I suppose, where we're sort of headed, if that answers your question.
Yeah, and we know the Victorian state of economy at the moment is going through a tough time, especially the building industry. But how are you finding adapting to the trials and tribulations and the obstacles you face in the business world each day?
It is a challenge. 2023, I suppose, in the last 3 years with the COVID years, was probably the most challenging with recruitment. We did struggle to find, I suppose, staff members that fit our mould. But 2024 seems to have turned the corner, I suppose, with everything slowing down, staff have become available, and that helps us support our clientele and I suppose grow because there's actually people to employ.
Yeah. Listen, mate, on behalf of the entire Dinamo community, it's a massive community. Thank you so much for supporting St Albans Dinamo. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Well, welcome back to Dinamo TV, and thank you to all of our sponsors. Each week we're going to meet a new sponsor. Last week it was Future Tech. This week it was Evolution Electrical. And next week we will be speaking to someone from our major sponsor, I&D. That will be coming up in next week's show, I&D Group, of course. Folks, we have got now time for our second guest, and it's time to announce who our player of the week was. I caught up with him a little bit earlier on today. Let's have a listen to who our player of the week was from last week's game against the Melbourne Knights. Okay, welcome back to Dinamo TV. And it's now time for the Player of the Week, the senior team Player of the Week. And after the game against the Melbourne Knights, the big sister club derby, the big Croatian derby, the coaching staff and the management staff of the senior team, they decided that the winner of this week's Player of the Week goes to our guest tonight, Nelson Tshongo. Nelson, welcome to Dinamo TV, and firstly, congratulations on being awarded the Player of the Week in last week's round.
Yeah, thank you for everyone that voted for me. It's great to be back playing. It's been a couple of weeks trying to get my fitness up, and was happy to be able to be included in the squad and obviously take part.
Yeah, now you've come from another sister club in the off-season, from the North Geelong Warriors, who are, unfortunately, they were relegated into now what is VPL 1 from the NPL competition. But how are you finding yourself, or how are you finding things at a new club, new surrounds at Dinamo?
Yeah, but I think everyone's been welcoming, especially the playing group. And obviously, majority of the boys were there from last season. So, just getting used to the way they do things at the club, and trying to stay away from copping a few early fines in there. So, I've enjoyed my time so far, and especially with the coaching group. Just with expectations of what they want to do, and Ryan is very particular, and he always has a game plan. So reading into what he wants to do, and making sure I can implement that when I go on the pitch if I get a chance.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, you had some corker games, some classic games last year against Dinamo. One of the few wins that North Geelong had, plus there was also the Australia Cup clash as well. And now you're playing at Dinamo. Was it a bit strange at first coming up against some of the old, opponents, and now they're your teammates?
It's different when you're on the opposition side.
Yeah.
But when you get to train with the guys, and you can see the quality that some of them do have, and how hard they work on the training pitch. So it's a bit different, but you hope you haven't hurt anyone in the past. Have any conflicts come training or in games. Yeah,
players tend to have long memories, don't they? That's for sure. Mate, well, first of all, like I said, congratulations on the performance last week. From a team's perspective, it wasn't the result that Dinamo fans wanted, or the players. 3-0 loss to the sister club Melbourne Knights. Tell us a little bit about the game. Obviously, your performance was very good. But how did you see last week's game?
Look, at the end of the day, we're always striving to try to get the 3 points. We're always trying to be competitive, and we've always got a game plan. And I think we had a game plan, and then for times of that game, we did execute our game plan. It's disappointing for the fans that to come out to watch, and with the expectation that we do give them something to be cheerful for, and to commemorate the support they give the club. But Melbourne Knights are a strong team, and very well organized and stuff. We came into the game with a game plan, and we did try to execute that throughout the game. It was just a matter of how clinical we were. At least it was good to see some positive, all throughout training, we worked on trying to, close up the gaps between our defensive line and our mid line and our attacking line. And he showed, because, it wasn't that easy for Melbourne Knights to play through the middle of us, which shows that the players are taking on board what the coach has been implementing in training.
Yeah, well, let's turn our attention now to this week. This Sunday afternoon at Churchill Reserve, a must-win game against Moreland City. Are the boys starting to feel the pressure in the change rooms, the weight of expectation The fans are sort of starting to get a bit restless, but obviously you behind the scenes, you know what you got to do. You know your game plan. You know what the strategy is going forward. How's the team sort of, looking towards Sunday and the game against Moreland City?
I think, at the back end of a loss, it brings morale down a little bit, but there's heaps of positive from the game there, and even carrying on from the way the boys played, matching Avondale, and it just, there's light of what we can do when we implement what we know we're capable of doing. Going on to Sunday, we want to implement what we know we're capable of doing, and that 3 points is crucial, and it's what everyone's expecting, and it's what everyone's been working hard towards, and just to be able to give that 3 points to the fan. And I think it'll be something that not just for the 3 points but for the rest of the season for us. It's going to be crucial in terms of expectation, where we want to go. We want to challenge for something this season, and that's the playing group motivation behind it. And the coach is the same. We want to be a competitive side and challenge for things in the season, and that's what we're working towards.
Well, mate, as an attacking-minded player and a very, very fast, speedy attacker, I certainly I think a lot of Dinamo supporters would have absolutely no problem if, once again, you're going to be the player of the week this week coming, because we certainly want all the action to be in our attacking half as opposed to our defensive half. So, mate, once again, congratulations on taking out the Player of the Week award for round 4, and all the very, very best for Sunday's big clash against Moreland City.
Thank you. Yeah.
The I&D Group is regarded as one of the largest deliverers of concrete structure solutions in Victoria. Formed in 1994 by Ivan and Kathy Filipovic, their passion and commitment to getting the job done safely and economically has underpinned their success in the industry. I&D partners with large-scale building and construction companies in both the private and public sectors on projects large and small. With our corporate headquarters based in South Melbourne and storage yard based in the southeast suburbs, we have at our disposal thousands of square metres of quality materials, along with state-of-the-art lifting and crane equipment, enabling us to deliver the largest projects. We are committed to delivering high-quality projects by partnering with our clients and collaborating with project suppliers to ensure each job is delivered to exceed expectations. From humble beginnings, I&D now employs more than 1,200 dedicated professional and support staff, involved in a number of landmark projects right across Victoria. The I&D Group is a massive supporter of the Croatian community, backed soccer clubs in Victoria, and is proud to be the major sponsor of the St Albans Dinamo Football Club in 2024.
Welcome back to DinamoTV, folks. We're nearly wrapping it up, but before we do, we've got a couple of community announcements. A big cheerio to Jure Andrija. That's Jure Dragovic. He says, Pozdrav tebi, greetings to you and all the listeners, and to Mickey C from 10 onwards tonight. Join us on Hrvatski Radio Ponos, Croatian Radio Pride, 88.9 Win FM. Be sure to tune into that. And also a big cheerio to Jure's mother, Milka. During the week, she had her 96th birthday. Whilst on the topics of birthdays, a happy birthday to my wife, my dearest, beautiful Mimi. And I think we should all agree, she's on her birthday, she's let me do the DinamoTV show tonight. So a big cheerio. Thank you, wifey. Really appreciate it on behalf of the entire Dinamo family. And there are everywhere. They're watching us from everywhere. Big shout out to Davor Moja Malenkos Perovic, who says, Ugodno iznenađenje. That means a pleasant surprise, all the way from Hobart. That's right, yes, from Hobart, from Tasmania. We do have overseas listeners. Now, speaking of overseas listeners or guests, we may well have next week an international guest. Yes, that's right. We are in negotiations at the moment, and we hope to have that confirmed early next week, but we may have an international guest to talk about Dinamo. Yes, that's right. So that is going to be awesome. But until then, folks, there's a lot happening here locally as well. Just to recap, starting off on Friday night, kickoff is 8:15 p.m. at Churchill Reserve. Free entry. The bar and kitchen will be open. And MICKY COLINA's FC Strathmore Split, our sister club, taking on Bell Park. The underdogs, they are in State 4. And here's an interesting fact about Bell Park. They have got about probably half a dozen former North Geelong Warriors youngsters, Croatian kids from North Geelong playing there as well. So there's going to be a pretty strong Croatian contingent there at Churchill Reserve on Friday night. And 48 hours later, exactly 48 hours later, Dinamo taking on Moreland City in what would be described as a real six-pointer. It's round 5 NPL Victoria action. Again, we really need to win, so let's forget about all the bad performances over the last few weeks. Let's forget about the results. Let's forget about the criticism. Let's all head to Churchill Reserve on Sunday night and get behind the boys because they need us and we need them. So on that note, folks, thank you very much for being a part of tonight's show. Really appreciate it. Great numbers, by the way. Fantastic numbers throughout. And we certainly hope that you'll be tuning in to next week when it's episode 9 of DinamoTV. And I tell you what, some big news actually while we're on it. One of our sister podcasts, Oz Crow's Soccer Show, fingers crossed, but hopefully in the next week or two, we may be able to make an announcement that we will be back in 2024. By the way, we are simulcast on the Oz Crow Facebook page as well. So a lot of news, a lot to get through, but next week I'm sure will be a very, very happy episode of DinamoTV. From me to you all, good night, and thank you for joining us on DinamoTV. Mismo Dinamo, laku noć.